Okay, so in class, we are going to discuss about conditional statement. Okay, so in the previous classes, what we discussed, executing the statements in a sequence order in which the instructions or program or the lines of code will be executed from the beginning to the end. In this class, we are going to discuss about conditional statement. What is this conditional statement? The statements that will be executed based on condition. If a statement is executed based on criteria, based on conditions, okay, only few lines of code will be executed. Instead of executing the statements from the beginning to the end, this conditional statement will execute only a few lines of code based on criteria or conditions. Okay, as you can see the slide, we are going to see two different types of conditional statement. The main type is if statement and switch statement. Okay, and we are going to see few other subtypes in if statement, but mainly two types in conditional statement. One is if statement and another one is switch statement. Okay, let me show you a syntax of how we can use this if statement in C. After that, we are going to do a practical session in C program. Fine. Okay, so this is a syntax of if statement. If condition and a block of code has to be written inside this if statement. This is a syntax of if statement. And let me give you the syntax for if else as well. So what is how this if else statement works? So as you can see this slide, if followed by the condition. Okay, if followed by the condition. If this condition is true, the statement that is given, okay, at the very next line will be executed. When this condition is false, okay, when this condition is false, it will take the else part. It will take the else part. So this is how if else statement works. Followed by few other subtypes in if statement. The next one is, yes, else if statement. What is this else if? This else if statement to specify a new condition if the first condition is false. See here, this is the syntax of else if statement. How it works? We have more conditions inside this if. We have more conditions inside this if condition 1, as well as when you see we have another one condition that is given with this keyword else if. So if this condition 1 is true, it will take the very next port that is given. But then if this condition is false, that is condition 1 is false, it will check the condition of 2 that is given inside else if statement. Fine. If none of the conditions are satisfied, say for example, if condition 1 is also false and condition 2 is also false, it will take the statement that is given in the else part. Okay. Moving on to the third one. So, sorry, fourth one, nested if statement. What is this nested if statement? Nested if statement or if statement that is given inside another if statement. Okay, so if statement inside another if statement, which we call it as nested if statement. As you can see the syntax, this is if condition 1, if this condition 1 is true, it will check the next condition. Okay, make sure that condition 2 is also true. Okay, if condition 2 is true, it will execute the block of code that is given inside the if cases. Okay, so nested if statement, okay, the block of code that is given inside the nested if executes only if all the conditions are satisfied. Moving on to the last if subtype, that is nested if else. So how this nested if else works? Okay, in the previous subtype what we discussed, the block of code executed only if all the conditions are satisfied. Okay, if all the nested if conditions are satisfied, then only it will execute the block of code that is given inside. Whereas in nested if else, even there may be cases that few of the conditions will fail. Okay, if there is a failed condition, then what block of code has to be executed will be given with the help of nested if else statement. Okay, now we are going to see a program. Now we are going to see a program in a conditional statement. Conditional statement. Okay, so we are going to check a given number is greater or not. Okay, we are going to check whether the given number is greater number or smaller number. Okay, so for checking out whether the given number is greater or smaller, we need to declare two variables. So I have declared two variables and the variable names are A and B. Okay. So now I'm going to get the value of A and B from the user. Okay. Enter the values of enter the values of A and B. Okay, enter the values of A and B. Okay, enter the values of A and B. Now, how do you get the input? By using scanf function. So, since I am getting integer values, I have just mentioned it as percentage D, percentage D. Why two format specific? Because I am going to get two values. Fine. Okay, now I am going to check whether which one is greater, A or B. How do I check? By using this if conditional statement. So, if A greater than B. So what operator has to be used to frame the condition? Comparison operator. So what are all the comparison operator? Greater than, lesser than, greater than or equal to, lesser than or equal to, double equal to, not equal to. So these are all the operators where we use to check, okay, the conditions. So here I have used greater than. Okay, I'm going to check whether A or B, which one is greater. So if A is greater than B, I'm just going to print it as A is greater. Okay, I simply print it as A is greater than, A is greater than B. Fine. Ended with semicolon. Else I'm going to print it as yes, B is greater than A. Okay, so what code I have written here? What code I have written here? I have just declared two variables. Okay, A and B. After that, I just get the values of A and B from the user using scanf function. And I have used conditional statement to check whether A or B, which one is greater. So what is the comparison operator to check the greater value? Greater than this one. Okay. And if A greater than B, I just print it as A is greater than B. If A is not greater than B, it will print it as, okay, B is greater than A. Okay. Now I'm going to run this program. We'll check out the output here. It's asking about the enter the values of A and B. I'm just going to give it as 2 and 3. Now, actually, B value is greater because the value of B is 3. So I'm just getting the output as B is greater than A. Now I'm going to rewrite the program to use, okay, else if statement. How do you use else if statement? Okay, I'm going to change the program logic. I'm going to make it to check with 3 values. Okay, I'm going to write a C program to check the greatest among 3 numbers. How do you check? Okay, first thing you need to get 3 values from the user. Okay, so since we need 3 values, enter 3 values. I'm going to change the printf statement as enter 3 values. Okay, enter 3 values. Enter 3 values. Since I'm getting 3 values from the user, okay, additionally, I am including another one, percentage D, comma, ampersand C. I'm going to get 3 values from the user. Okay, one is A, B, and C. Now, since we are getting 3 values, I'm going to check the greatest among 3 numbers. What is the logic? Okay, first thing, the A value should be checked with B and C. Okay, let me open the paint. Okay, I have to check 3 values and need to display which one is greater. If I have 3 values, A, B, and C, I am going to find out the greatest among 3 numbers. How do I check? First thing, the A has to be compared with B and C. First thing, the A have to be compared with B and C. Okay. If A is greater than, if the condition is true, that is A is greater than B as well as it is greater than C, meaning that A is greater. In case, if A is lesser than B, but it is actually greater than C, meaning that A is not at all greatest number. Okay. A is not at all a greater number. Okay. Then we can omit A since it is actually less than B. So we can omit A and moving on to check B and C. Okay, so this is the logic. So I'm going to write a C program to check out the greatest among 3 numbers. And how do I check? What is the logic behind to find out the greatest among three numbers? If I have three variables, A, B, C, nothing but three values. First thing, what I'm going to do, I'm going to check this A value with B and C. If A is greater than B as well as it is greater than C, meaning that A is the greatest number. If it is not greater than B, but it is greater than C, means, okay, A is actually not at all a greatest number. Okay, when you check with the remaining two values, that's the meaning. So we can move on to check with B and C. Okay, so now I'm going to write this logic with else if, and initially I'm going to check whether A is greater than B as well as A is greater than C. If it is greater than B and C, meaning that A is the greatest value. A is greater. If not, okay, I'm going to check with the condition else if. If not, if A is smaller than B and C, or if A is smaller than B but it is greater than C, or if A is greater than B but smaller than C, meaning that A is not at all greater. So I have to check B is, yes, I have to check B is, okay, greater than C, or else B is greater than A. You can also check it with this logic. B is greater than C, meaning that B is greater. Okay, B is greater. So I have not declared the variable C. Okay, B is greater. It is percentage D, ABC. Okay, meaning that, okay, what's the else part I have to, okay, if it is, if A is not greater as well as the B is not greater and the condition, okay, none of the conditions are satisfied, then we'll write it as C is greater. Okay, let me run this code. Okay, it will ask three values to enter. So I'm going to give it as 5, 2, 5, 6. Okay, C is greater. Since I have given 6 as the third value, okay, I'm getting the output as C is greater. So this is how we can use different subtypes of if conditional statements.